Well, one way we can define it is starting, idling, and running operation that satisfies the customer. Or, more simply, how the engine responds to the gas pedal. And as you know, good drivability is now more difficult to maintain because of emission control requirements. In fact, today's engines cannot properly start or run if adjustments are not exactly within specification limits. Always remember that good drivability basically depends on the ignition timing and carburetor idle settings. If they're not correct, neither is anything else. Also, settings for interrelated components must be made in correct sequence. For example, if engine idle speed and mixture are not correct before you adjust transmission throttle linkage, poor upshifting can result. Now, let's talk about diagnosing specific problems. Here, we'll use the operating conditions shown on the drivability checklist: engine cold, engine partly warm, and engine warmed up. Under engine cold, let's begin with starter cranks, but engine won't start. First, glance at the gauge for indication of fuel in the tank. Then try the recommended cam starting procedure. If the engine fires a few times but does not run, it may be flooded. Hold the pedal down all the way while cranking and do not release it until the engine starts. If there's no firing action, you may have ignition system trouble. Check for spark at any plug. Also, seat all ignition cable connections at both ends. Pinch the distributor cap boots to expel air as cable ends are bottomed. Primary wiring connections must be clean and tight. Check pickup coil and ignition coil primary connections. Ballast resistor connections. Control unit harness connector and ground screws. If spark is okay, remove the air cleaner cover and see if the choke is closed. Notice that the air cleaner on some models locates with a tab. The closing force of the choke spring positions the fast idle cam, which in turn holds the throttle valves open a proportionate amount. Incorrect throttle opening affects the mixture, which can cause hard starting. While the engine is cold, snap the choke valve shut a few times to check for sticking. Binding anywhere in the choke linkage that affects choke valve and fast idle cam positions will cause hard starting. And remember that a long delay between cranking and starting can make the choke come off too soon, due to electric choke assist action. Open the choke valve and work the accelerator pump. A positive discharge should appear in the carburetor throat when the throttle is opened. No discharge can mean that fuel is not reaching the carburetor. Loosen the inlet connection. Fuel should squirt out when the engine is cranked, but be careful. If necessary, do the same thing at the fuel pump connections. If you've got gas, the accelerator pump may not be working because of a worn or displaced plunger seal, plunger binding in its bore, missing ball check, loose cluster screws, or other leaks in the pump system. Check for obvious things like misrouted or disconnected vacuum hoses. Remember that vacuum leaks make the mixture lean and affect engine operation. Next, we come to the engine that starts, does not go to fast idle, and dies out when the key is released. Here, as with a no-start condition, we're concerned with recommended starting procedure, spark available, fuel available, choke linkage, fast idle speed and cam position settings, and vacuum leaks. When the engine starts, the vacuum kick diaphragm must pull the choke valve partly open so the engine can get enough air to run. If the choke opens too far, the mixture will be lean, causing die-out or stalling. Not enough choke opening produces an over-rich mixture, which can load or flood the engine. On idle enrichment carburetors, the system must go into action. If engine speed changes when you apply vacuum to the diaphragm hose, the system is working. In the ignition system, an open ballast resistor will also cause an engine die-out as the key is released from cranking position. Where you have an engine that starts, runs at fast idle for a short time, and then dies out, again check for fuel available, choke linkage, vacuum kick operation, fast idle speed and cam position settings, and vacuum leaks. Also, check the EGR valve. The valve is okay if there's no speed change when you pull the hose, but there is a change when you pump the valve connection. If the engine starts, Goes to fast idle, then slows and idles rough with lots of black smoke. It's probably running over rich. Here we make sure there is no binding anywhere in the choke linkage and check for proper vacuum kick and fast idle system operation. The EGR valve must remain closed and sealed properly. An engine that dies out when you tap the pedal to drop off from fast idle may have an inoperative vacuum kick diaphragm or incorrect linkage adjustment. Fast idle speed may be adjusted too low or the cam positioned at a low speed step. Also, if the OSAC system leaks or the valve sticks, the engine may backfire or stall on drop-off from fast idle. Some engines stall when the transmission is shifted into gear. Here we are concerned with correct vacuum kick, fast idle speed, and cam position. The EGR valve may leak or open too soon. Idle enrichment shuts down too early, or the OSAC system does not work properly. Usually, if a cold engine backfires, we can suspect a lean mixture or late spark or valve timing. We've already discussed the most frequent causes of lean mixtures, so we'll only indicate the pertinent ones here. And that brings us to the second drivability operating condition, engine partly warm. Some engines stall at idle speed as you back out of a driveway or stop at a nearby crossing. Here we can begin by making sure the assist heater does not cause the choke to open too soon. The vacuum kick diaphragm must open the choke properly. Fast idle speed and cam position correct. Idle enrichment should be operating, and there must be no vacuum leaks. Also, check the manifold crossover to make sure heat reaches the carburetor and the choke spring. The crossover area should be hot to the touch when operating properly. Less probable causes of stalling at idle would be the EGR valve stuck open or a faulty OSAC system. Other engine warm-up drivability problems are stumble or shuddering under light throttle, hesitation, and backfiring through the carburetor. In all these cases, make sure that the heated inlet air system warms the incoming air to help the cold mixture atomize for good drivability. Check the air door operating temperature to make sure it does not open to direct inlet air too soon. Cycle the air door with a hand pump. The choke assist heater, vacuum kick, fast idle, and idle enrichment systems must all operate properly. Hesitation, shuddering, and backfiring can also be traced to poor accelerator pump action or a low float height adjustment. In all cases, check all external possibilities before you open the carburetor. Once again, make sure the EGR valve does not open too soon and that the OSAC system is okay. The third drivability condition, engine warmed up, brings us to rough idling, hesitation, surging, and low performance at wide open throttle. Since idle mixture can be involved in hesitation and surging, we'll begin with rough idling causes. First, check timing and adjust throttle valve position and idle mixture using the propane method or infrared method. Be sure to install new limiter caps when you finish. You may find vacuum leaks, EGR valve stuck open, fuel leaks at the accelerator pump discharge cluster, spark plugs fouled or incorrectly gapped, even such things as restricted air cleaner or exhaust system, sticky valves or low compression. Where the engine hesitates with light pedal movement, first check the heated inlet air system. If the door sticks in the up or full heat position, the heated air can make the mixture rich, causing hesitation. Check the carburetor accelerator pump action. Of course, as in all other conditions, there must be no vacuum leaks. Other lean mixture problems are low float height adjustment, and on BBD models, incorrect metering rod qualification adjustment. Here again, we may find an EGR valve stuck open. Also, check the spark plugs for incorrect gaps or fouling. For engine hesitation with heavy throttle movement, causes in the carburetor narrow down to poor accelerator pump operation, low float height setting, or an inoperative step-up system. Ignition system trouble also may be involved. Because fuel supply requirements here are greater, make sure the fuel pump and filter are okay. Also, check to see whether the throttle valves open all the way. Next, we come to surging when cruising below 40. Here again, we are concerned with lean mixture causes, incorrect timing advance, EGR mixture dilution, incorrect spark plug gaps, or fouling. Early and mushy transmission upshifting can be mistaken for an engine surge condition. Transmission throttle linkage, which is adjusted too short, can cause this condition. Engine surging when cruising above 45 may result from any of the low-speed surging causes, plus low carburetor float height or binding float arms, clogged filter, or a defective fuel pump. As with heavy throttle hesitation, low performance at wide open throttle can also be a fuel supply problem, so check the fuel pump output and filter condition. Also, check for ignition system problems. Last of all, don't overlook the possibility that the exhaust system might be restricted, causing back pressure buildup. And that's about all we can cover here. We'll describe other warmed-up engine drivability problems in the reference book for this session. Good drivability is the name of the game. Remember, today's satisfied customers are tomorrow's new car buyers.